Alright everyone, I hate having to do this, but before I get into this video, please make sure to like and share this video. Don't just put it into a playlist on YouTube, share it on other platforms, because I'm being algorithmically hidden in a systemic fashion by YouTube these days. Again, I hate having to point that out, but at this point it's a necessity. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on like BitChute or something, it's a-okay. You get notified of stuff there. People will actually know that I exist. Anyway, we have to talk today about Julian Castro's endorsement for what it's worth, which is relatively little. Julian Castro has endorsed Elizabethwarren, and I'm like, oh, her fellow con artist has endorsed her. And it's funny because he's managed to piss everyone off. It's like Biden, for example, looks inevitable. There's no fervor behind him, so it doesn't really matter. With Elizabethwarren, though, the reason why she's got a support base at all is she took Bernie Sanders' platform and successfully repackaged it minus the term socialism and then foisted it on people who are on the left but don't want to use the term socialist because it makes them feel bad or feel guilty or something. And so that's sort of her voting bloc. I'm not surprised that Castro would endorse her because he's a disingenuous hack, and so this shows that he's not actually on the left. Like, he pretended he was totally open borders, extreme anti-gunner, extremely pro-handouts, pro-welfare state, extremely pro-centrality. He's a fanatic, basically, at least on the surface. But he chose to endorse a person who's not actually genuinely a fanatic at all. Elizabethwarren is not far left in any authentic sense. She is a good strategist. She has taken a platform that bodes well for younger voters especially, and repackaged it minus some of the things dragging it down, because Bernie Sanders is too idealistic to let go of the term socialism. He's too idealistic to let go of any social issue. So he'll say he'll give you the moon on the stick, and Venus, and Mars, and Mercury, and the sun, and the cosmos, and the Milky Way, and everything will be yours. Socialism now, socialism forever, everything magically gets better. Reasonable people understand this is not capable of being delivered upon. Bernie Sanders' plan cannot be actually afforded in any way, shape, or form, not by a long shot. It's not possible. Leastways, not unless you want a 90% middle-class tax rate or something and you just want government to baby everyone and handle all their finances for them, which, most people don't understand finances any better than the Keynesians that run the government do, so I don't know if it really makes a huge difference. But at the end of the day, if people are going to waste money, they should at least waste money on things that they want and not what 51% of the population wants. That's my belief anyway. Call me a fanatic or a reactionary for thinking that people should be able to have choice. Anyway, Bernie Sanders' problem is that he refuses to temper himself. He's been very consistent since the 70s. Elizabethwarren realized this, and what she's done is she started campaigning for this in 2015, basically. She started making the early maneuvers that she would need to make to rebrand herself. She wanted to fit into that special slot where she's a progressive and a leftist, but not too much to scare the business Dems off. And that's really what she's been doing. Julian Castro initially, when he got into the race, I estimated that if he became nominee, and I still hold to this, if he had become the nominee, he would have been one of the few people who would have been capable of challenging Trump. Castro destroyed his own campaign, because instead of doing what he could have done, he could have been the next Obama. Give a lot of soaring speeches, speak about togetherness, speak about mild forms of reform, call out people who are going on the fringe as being insane, as being the fanatics that they are, call out Bernie Sanders, call out some of these other people on these issues. Temper yourself and be more like where Biden is right now. Julian Castro would have been doing very well. Because if he had cast himself off as a Biden alternative, like what Buttigieg has done, he would have been considerably younger, considerably more well-spoken, bilingual, which does help with a small part of the Democratic voting bloc, and he would have seemed conciliatory. Instead, what did he do? He started off his campaign with a volley of far-left crap. I want to do this and that and the other thing. I want to throw open the borders and ban all guns, and we need to ban cow farts, and Green New Deal is a good idea, and all of these various things. And then also Trump derangement syndrome. He could have been conciliatory. He could have put forward a message of togetherness and, man, we're all in this together. It's just that Trump is not doing well for our republic and we need to get new leadership. Instead, he went full orange man and said, oh, Russian assets. He's a sexist, he's a racist, he's homophobic, he's a terrible person, he's going to destroy our republic if he gets reelected. Please elect me. And so he stalled out below 2%. And so he was never really viable. He never even got his chance in the first place. Unlike some candidates, someone like Beto O'Rourke, he comes in, he hits like 6 or 7, he's technically viable for about a month, falters, he peters out. Or Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris enters in, she's like a second-tier candidate. She spikes, she does fairly well for a while because of the first debate performance that she delivered, then she peters back out. Julian Castro was never even a second-tier candidate. And much like with Kirsten Gillibrand, it's just not his era. The thing is, the sort of finesse that he had, or the sort of reasonable candidacy that Gillibrand had, aren't palatable to the average far-left voter. They want a fanatic right now who is going to make a bunch of promises to them, much of which they can't actually deliver, but they just want to hear the promise. They want to hear how Bernie Sanders is going to give them free shit. They don't want to have to worry about how it's going to be paid for. They want to hear that Bernie Sanders will inevitably keep us out of every war, but they don't want to hear about the fact that that would require abandoning all of the world's shipping lanes. They don't want to hear about pragmatism because they're not pragmatic, they're not intelligent enough to be. And then most of those people that are intelligent enough to be pragmatic have already found their man in Joe Biden. So it really wasn't Julian Castro's time, and he tried to outmaneuver this by going far left, like going further left than Sanders. It's not going to work, dude. It's simply he's got too much name recognition. Castro threw up a Hail Mary. It didn't work, and now he's endorsed Elizabethwarren. Do I think this moves the metrics of the race? Not much. It gives her a point of support, maybe, but she's in a distant third place. She's consistently 2 or 3 points behind Sanders, who is consistently 9 or 10 points behind Biden. This helps to the degree that if you're a hardcore Julian Castro fan, you might entertain delusions that he would be her running mate, and so you support her tacitly in whatever state you're in. I don't think long-term it really helps her, though. She's on a downward trajectory, having already had a hard spike. A hard ceiling has hit her in the head and knocked her back down almost 50% lower than she was at peak. She's probably not going to recover from that. And if she does, it'll probably be because some other candidate, even though you look at their age, somebody died or had a stroke or dropped out because of family concerns or something, or some scandal from the 1980s. That's really what it boils down to. I don't think Elizabethwarren is viable anyway. If she became nominee, and there's still a chance of that, I suppose. If she's nominated, I don't think she can beat Trump. I think the only positive about the Democrats nominating her is that when they almost inevitably lose, they can blame sexism instead of having to autopsy why they lost. This is what they did after 2016. They blamed sexism and racism and fanaticism and Russia instead of looking inwards and saying, why did we fail? Why is it that this person that for months we called extremely weak ended up beating us anyway? They're unwilling and incapable, it seems, to do that. That's about all. Peace out.